Chapter 5. Present day, one Saturday in August, Alva, Scotland. Daddy? Daddy? Huh? Through the depths of a deep sleep, 44-year-old Tom Duncan became aware of the child's voice. For a moment he lay in the darkness, and then yawning with his eyes only half open, he glanced at his bedside clock. It read 2:40 a.m. Daddy, wake up, please. Okay, sweetie, I'm here. Just a moment. Tom took a deep breath and reached out into the darkness, attempting to locate his bedside light. After a few moments of fumbling, his fingers finally found the switch, and the room was filled with the soft glow of lamplight. Now fully awake, he could see his 6-year-old daughter, Amy, standing by the bed, wearing her favourite Dora the Explorer pyjamas and clutching Ricky, her beloved teddy bear, and her familiar white gauze comfort blanket. Half sitting now, Tom swung his legs out of the bed and turned to smile at his daughter. What's the matter, baby? Another bad dream? Uh-huh. Do you want me to take her back to bed? The soft, sleepy voice came from behind him. Looking back over his shoulder, Tom could see the blankets moving as a tousled head of blonde hair appeared. No, it's okay. I'll go and lie with her for a while. You go back to sleep. Tom stood up, scooped up his daughter into his arms, and walked into the adjacent bedroom. There, by the gentle radiance of a soft nightlight, it was easy to make out the shape of the small single bed, chest of drawers, nightstand, and toy box. A small pine-wood bed was covered with assortment of soft toys, including a large brown bear called Barney, Jenny the giraffe, and Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. You know, with all of these animals, I'm not surprised you can't sleep. Don't they keep you awake? No, Daddy, don't be silly. Of course they don't. Tom smiled as he pulled back the blanket and proceeded to reposition Amy back into bed. Now tell me, what was your bad dream about tonight? Scott. Tom's head dropped, and he gave a heavy sigh. Scott was Tom's 8-year-old son. He was everything a father could have wanted from a son, intelligent, funny, and sensitive. 8 months earlier, however, he had been killed on a road trip while on a day trip to Edinburgh's Royal Mile. Just a terrible, tragic accident. Nobody's fault. At least that's what everybody kept telling him. Scott had bought a new football from a high street vendor on the high street, and moments later the ball had slipped from his hands and bounced onto the road. Despite the many warnings he had given to his son on the dangers of roads, all Tom could do was watch on in horror as Scott bolted blindly onto the oncoming traffic. It was all over in an instant. A large delivery van struck the boy on the head. Doctors later said he was probably dead before he hit the ground. Although both Tom and his wife Jane were doing their best to move on, the pain was still raw in his mind. Over and over again he thought, why did this have to happen? If only he hadn't bought that stupid ball, Scott would still be alive. Shaking off his misery, Tom tenderly stroked his daughter's soft blonde hair as he responded. What did you dream, baby? Amy thought for a moment, clearly trying to remember the specific details, but with most dreams, it was slipping away fast. I dreamt he was here with me, Daddy. I can't remember any more, Daddy. I'm sorry. Tom sighed and whispered softly. It's okay, sweetheart. Don't worry about it. Scott's in a safe place now. He just probably called on you to see how you were. Can he do that? Can he come down from heaven? Giving another sigh, Tom thought for a moment as he gave Amy a warm smile. Of course he can. In a dream. Because that's the amazing thing about dreams. God gave us the ability to dream so that those who've gone can come and visit us from time to time. But will he really come back, Daddy? Tom swallowed hard as he attempted to push back the lump that was forming in his throat. Oh, baby, I wish he could. I really do. Daddy, do you believe in heaven? Tom looked at his daughter, her beautiful face glowing in the soft light, and wondered how to respond to such innocence. Then his heart swelled, and he smiled to himself, for if heaven truly did exist, then it must be here right now, embodied in his darling daughter. I do, sweetheart. I really do. Well, what happens when you die? Do you go straight there, to heaven? Mummy says it's a magical place. Can we visit? I could take Scott some toys. Gosh, thought Tom, how do I answer this one? He wanted to tell Amy all about God and all the wondrous things that he could do, but how could he tell her about a loving, caring God when his son had been taken so suddenly and cruelly, ripped from their lives? Looking down at Amy, he thought, no, it's not your fault. Why should I pass on my bitterness to you? He sighed. You know, everyone dies eventually, and if you're a good person here on earth, when you die, you will go to heaven. And yes, Mummy's right. It is a very special place. A place where you can see and be with all your family and friends again. But Daddy, why do we have to die? Why can't we just live forever? Well, if everyone lived forever, the planet would run out of room and it would get pretty cramped. Mrs. MacDonald told Rory McAllister that he was very naughty, and if he wasn't good, he would go down there. Amy pointed to the ground with her index finger. He was always being bad in class. He sat on the naughty step yesterday for a whole hour. Well, I don't know about Rory McAllister, but I do know that Amy Duncan will definitely go to heaven because she's a good girl. Amy beamed at her father, her eyes shining. So why, if heaven is such a nice place, why can't we go and take some toys for Scott? I'm sure God won't mind, would he? Tom's head dropped, tears welling in his eyes, and the lump he had been trying to hold back was re-emerging, stronger than ever. I'm afraid it doesn't work like that, baby. You only get to go there at the end of your life, when you're a real old lady, or, of course, if you're a boy, when you're a really old man. A look of puzzlement appeared on his daughter's face, and Tom took a deep breath, already aware of the oncoming question. So why did God take Scott away? He wasn't old, he was only 8. Was God angry with him? Oh no, sweetie, don't think that. Scott just had an accident, that's all. A really sad accident. It was nobody's fault. Sometimes these things just happen. It's just the way things work out. Well, it doesn't seem fair. Amy's eyes were closing, and her battle to stay awake was almost finished, and the curtain of sleep was descending upon her. No, Tom whispered, it's not fair. And then Amy was asleep. Her breathing was steady and calm. Tom leaned over and kissed his daughter on the forehead. Sleep well, my lamb. God bless. Tom gazed down at his daughter for a moment and then walked through to the bedroom he shared with his wife. Sitting on the bed, he sipped a mouthful of water from the glass on his bedside table, and when he had finished, he placed the glass down, reached over, switched the bedside light off, and climbed into bed. He lay there, quite still for a few moments, before he pulled the blanket upwards. Is she okay? Came the whisper from the darkness. Yes, she's asleep again now. Yes, she's asleep now. And you should be too. Good night, honey. I love you. The softness and warmth of his wife's hand clasped his own under the blanket. I love you too. Tom lay in the darkness, finding comfort from the sound of his wife's breathing, combined with the ticking of the bedside clock. Just before he fell asleep, Tom took a final glance at that clock. Even though his eyes were closing, he was able to make out the time as 3:25 a.m.